have your husband have your husband send them a message that he'll use his dowry however he pleases. It's absolutely perfect. Well, hello, lovely humans. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jamie Wolfer, and in today's video, I'm a wedding planner, by the way. So occasionally I do AITA reactions from Reddit, from a wedding planner's perspective, and tell you if the people are crazy or not. So that's what we're doing today. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we started a new series a couple months ago, AITA from Reddit, wedding edition, and today we're going to be digging into a handful of posts where the tea is piping hot and the comment section is ice cold. So without further ado, let's just jump right on into it. Here's how this typically goes. I read the story, I tell you my reaction, and then I read the comment section to see if we're in agreement. Okay? AITA, am I the a-hole, for accepting money from my parents for my wedding, then eloping. I don't know yet. Let's find out. Reddit says not the a-hole. Okay, great. My parents gave each of my brothers $50,000 when they graduated from university as a down payment on their home. When I graduated, they did not do the same for me. I asked about it and they said my husband should provide. I wasn't married. I still live at home. 3 years later, I met my husband. We dated for a year and then we got engaged. My parents were overjoyed. When we set a date, they gave me a check for $50K to pay for the wedding. WTF. I took the check and we eloped. Simple as that. We then used the check for a down payment on a house. My husband had a similar amount saved up, so we were in a good spot with equity. My parents were furious that they didn't get a big wedding for all of their friends and family to attend. They said that they gave me the money for a wedding. My argument is that I got married and had leftover money, accurate in my books. My brothers are on their side, so I'm here to ask if I'm in the wrong. AITA. Am I the a-hole? So this is about to get real interesting in the comments, both here on Reddit and I'm sure here on the video as well. I think there was a lot of miscommunication opportunities here. Either the parents didn't communicate that they wanted this only to be used for a wedding, right? And they wanted it to be a big wedding and they wanted all their friends and family invited. Either they didn't communicate that, so it's kind of on them, or they did, and then it's kind of on the couple for not clarifying that before moving forward. So for me, I think both parties here probably could use a lot more communication surrounding the wedding day, and my guess is if the bride was kind of having these sorts of feelings, feeling some kind of way, she might have avoided this conversation on purpose to maybe have this be the result. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. Let's go back to the very beginning of the story, however, before y'all start jumping down my throat for talking like she might have manipulated the situation. This would make me deeply frustrated. Because guess what? It wasn't my husband's job that got us this house. It was mine. Thank you, guys. By the way, if you are planning a wedding and you need help, you should probably come join the master plan. It's my online course where I meet with you guys live once a month and I walk you through everything that you need to be doing to plan your wedding. It is literally hands down the most comprehensive and yet easy to use wedding planning tool on the internet today. I said what I said. Why? Because I've seen all the other ones. Mine's better. So the idea that the boys can get this money for a house, but the girl has to use it for a wedding, I don't like that. I don't appreciate that. Don't get me wrong. I wear an apron. I make sourdough. I work from home. I homeschool my kids. We have a little homestead. Like, I wear floral dresses and frolic across our acreage, okay? I do. But then sometimes I show up with way too many pins for one vest, wearing pleather pants. I like the dichotomy of it, okay? So this would bug me if I was their kid. I get where she's coming from. Actually, the more I read it, the more I'm completely siding with her and kind of really frustrated with the parents. Because usually for me, I understand, and this is quite unpopular, I understand that when parents give money for a wedding, they have a little bit of say attached. So you can either choose to implement what they're requesting and receive that money and put up boundaries, or not receive that money and put up boundaries. Those are kind of the three options that you have when it comes to this. But the onus is a little bit on the couple to clarify, you are giving us this money, what are your expectations with these funds? But I do think it would behoove the couple, if you are in this situation, hey, I understand you are giving us this money. What is your expectation for us to do with these funds? Okay, because then you can make an educated decision on whether or not you want to accept that gift. In fact, I put together this whole guide on like how to talk to your family about money. I'm going to link it right here if you want to check it out because this is so stressful. Now to circle back to this particular couple, this is why I said she might have intentionally avoided having this conversation because she might have known what was going to come about because of it. And I can't say I necessarily blame her. $50,000 would be a baller wedding, but $50,000 is also more than the down payment I put on this home. Okay? So I get where she's coming from. I think they made a very astute financial decision for them and what they wanted out of life. And I think the relationship will recover from this. And I think the bride here is safe enough to go, you guys didn't clarify what you wanted us to do with the funds, right? Maybe kind of intentionally playing a little bit like, oops, I'm so sorry. You didn't say what you want us to do with it, but have you seen my house? All right, enough about my opinion. Let's get to the comments, shall we? Not the a-hole. Your family is being horrible and is using a BS double standard. They didn't expect your brothers to use that money for a big wedding, but you have to. They wouldn't have helped you get a home unless it was through marriage, but your brothers didn't have that condition and just got the money. And they expected you to have a huge wedding so that they could have fun. Ooh, that's some good perspective. Saving up the money is the responsible thing to do, and they're being bad parents if they'd rather you spent it all in a huge wedding you don't even want. Okay, I think that's a little bit unfair. I don't think they're being bad parents. I think they have uncommunicated expectations, and we're frustrated by that. One thing we run into with great frequency when it comes to wedding planning is everyone around you having expectations for what your day should look like, feel like, sound like, and cost, and who should be invited. I don't know why I just did that. Okay. This happens in even the least tense of relationships. I don't think they're bad parents for wanting a big wedding. I don't like the double standard here. No, we're not defending that. I just don't think we need to go as far as to say they are bad parents, you feel? Because whether you like it or not, you're not the only person that has expectations for your wedding day. And that could feel icky. And some people might be like, screw you. You don't get to have expectations for my wedding day. That's fine. You could just hurt some feelings along the way, step on some toes, ruffle some feathers. But if that is your battle cry, run forward, friend. Edit. Just a question to be clear. There was a wedding and they were invited, right? They're angry because it wasn't big enough? OP said, yes, there was a wedding. Okay. So yeah, this could have been avoided with a conversation beforehand, but also I could see why the bride would be like, no, I'm not talking to them about this because I know what they're going to say. If, for example, this concerned money set aside for education, I'd judge you in the wrong, but $50K for a wedding when your brother's got that same amount for a home is outrageous. Seriously, what the heck were they thinking? Hi, daughter dear, rather than giving you $50K to set you up quite comfortably housing-wise, we want you to burn through it for a single day called a wedding. You see, you have melons up top rather than ping pong balls and a sausage below. So what on earth makes you think you need financial security? Yeah, us having fun at that party and being able to brag about it for decades is way more important. Misogyny aside, I also loathe the fact that they wouldn't have given it to you if you preferred to remain single. It's basically bullying you into marriage, not the a-hole. And if it costs your relationship with your parents, that might be better in the long run in any case. Okay, they didn't bully this person into marriage. This person found their forever person and went, yay, let's get married. So let's not take it further than we need to. I get the idea of this, right? If someone's like, I need that money, I would like to have that money, I'm going to go and figure out someone to marry so I can get access to that money. But that is clearly not OP's intent here. That's not what she did. She found the love of her life and went, I want to get married. And then, at least from what we can see, based on the post, that's when the $50K came into the picture. So no, her parents didn't bully her into doing this. And if it costs you your relationship with your parents, I would hard disagree. I don't think this should cost your relationship with your parents. I don't. I'm a fan of trying to maintain and repair family relationships wherever we can, whenever it's healthy, whenever it's prudent. Please hear me on that. Because sometimes people are like, you just want them to stay in abusive relationships. No, I don't. You have to have boundaries, but you might have grandkids one day that are going to want to know their grandparents. I get that this stuff gets to be a little difficult, but I wouldn't take this one instance. There could be a series of instances. Yes. That might warrant doing something a little bit differently. But just because it's a wedding and just because it's this amount of money does not mean that the relationship is forever irreparable. I would invite them to an impromptu wedding ceremony in the backyard of your new house and thank them for funding this special day. OP said that's more or less what we did at a friend's house. All right, I mean, I get it. Wanting to satiate this frustration on behalf of the parents. This would be the olive branch that I think would be a wise thing to extend. Not the a-hole. You found a loophole. It seems odd that they gave you money outright versus paying for the wedding invoices. Sorry, your parents have double standards. I don't exactly disagree with that one. Gifts don't come with strings attached. monetary gifts for weddings sometimes do, whether you like it or not. That's why we have the whole money talk guide for you to go through, because sometimes people do give gifts with strings attached. In your opinion, they shouldn't, but that doesn't affect what they're thinking in their brain. So you need to clarify that. Good for you on cutting the strings. They gave you $50K for your wedding. You used the money for the wedding. They didn't specify on how much you had to spend. You know what? That's accurate. Okay, it's fine. Question: how is this decision impacting your relationship with your parents? OP said they are pissed. Okay, so we're still holding on to this. Have your husband send them a message that he'll use his dowry however he pleases. It's absolutely perfect. I encourage my daughter to elope and take the money. Sadly, I paid for a beautiful wedding. I mean, this is where we all have different opinions on what we should be doing with these finances, right? Some people want a wedding. Other people just want to perform the ceremony and have their certificate and then spend the rest of their life with their loved one. That's why I understand as a wedding planner, not everyone's going to want to hire me or book my services because not everyone wants a proper wedding, okay? Okay? Not the a-hole. Reading your comments, you did in fact use some of the money towards a wedding and they did come, so they have no right to be angry. Yeah, their expectations were just not fulfilled by the day that you presented. And sometimes that's okay. I mean, this is technically an everyone sucks here situation, but I do have to give you that not the a-hole because your parents sound like narcissistic douchebags. Also, F your brothers for taking their side. For what it's worth, OP has stated in other comments that they did have a ceremony that the parents were invited to, just not a huge affair. They didn't traditionally elope with no one in attendance. Everyone sucks here. Your parents are clearly sexist, so they should have given you that money when you graduated. What if you didn't want to get married? I also think that if they gave you the money for your wedding, you could have had a small wedding and invited them and used the rest for a house, so at least you use a part of it for what they intended. That's what I did, OP says. It was just a very small wedding. Okay, I can kind of see the everyone sucks here perspective, because if we rewind back to the beginning of this conversation when I'm like, maybe the couple avoided having this conversation because they knew the results of this, which I guess is well within the realm of reason, right? If they're like, no, I'm not going to talk to them about this. I know exactly what's going to happen. I've been irritated about this whole double standard for years, and I'm just not going to bring it up. I get it. I probably would have handled it differently, though. How about that? Not the a-hole. Though, you might have sold your relationship with your parents for $50,000. If that's a good trade for you, then $50K for a wedding, that is actually really not... Internet, don't hate me. That is really not on the obscene end of things for weddings. Okay? I don't work a wedding under $20,000. Why? Because I don't think people should be spending money on me if their budget is less than $20,000. That's why I make these videos. There's a gnat here. That's why I make these videos. That's why I made the master plan, to help people who can't afford a wedding planner plan their wedding super uber successfully. 50 is not outrageous. It's very easy for 50 to fly right out of your fingertips if you're not being mindful. Again, that's why I do what I do here. Okay, let's move on to the next part of the saga. Am I the a-hole for suggesting to my fiance that my family gets their own room at our wedding? What? Reddit says that you are the a-hole. Are we talking like getting ready spaces? I hope we're talking about getting ready spaces. I, 25-year-old male, recently got engaged to my lovely fiance, 25-year-old female. We have been together for 4 years. We have started general wedding planning. Her family is much bigger than mine, and she wants more of a party-type wedding with lots of music and dancing. That's pretty normal. Okay. My family, culturally, for us, I should say, my family is all a bit older than hers. She's the oldest sibling while I am the youngest, and they're into big, loud weddings. They would prefer something quiet and more focused on socializing, and I would too. That feels more important than what your family prefers. Okay. My fiance said we could do an extended cocktail hour and or start the reception later so there would be more time for quiet socializing, or even start the whole wedding earlier in the day so it wouldn't go as late. She also suggested that we could take our wedding photos before the ceremony so that we wouldn't have to miss cocktail hour to do them. Those all sound like very smart, very, very healthy compromises. I suggested that instead we find a venue with 2 separate rooms. This is not about getting ready spaces, ladies and gentlemen. This is about 2 separate weddings. That way her family could have a louder party in one and mine could have a quiet reception in the other. I hate everything about this. This makes me uncomfortable. It would be in the same venue so each side could still go over to the other and socialize. I see why you got your rating, pal. My fiance said she actually really hates that idea. She said that she feels that defeats the purpose of a wedding, which is supposed to symbolize the union of 2 people and their families. She also said that she doesn't want to do that because she worries I'll spend the entire reception with my family which you basically said is what you want too, so that makes sense. And that she'll have to choose between spending the night with me, but ignoring her family, or being with her family, but us basically being separate at our wedding. She said she also feels like the wedding we're planning is becoming less and less ours and more mine. She said this is because she originally wanted a child-free, non-religious wedding, but compromised on a church ceremony with children allowed because that's what I want. Am I the a-hole? Oh, buckle up, ladies and gents. Okay. I have a feeling that this OP is about to get really roasted in the comments. And I'm not going to do that necessarily. In my opinion, from an outsider's perspective, as a wedding planner who has helped negotiate couples literally having issues with compromise on their wedding day, it sounds like the bride in this situation has already done a lot of compromise. She wanted non-religious, now we're doing religious. She wanted no kids, now we're doing kids. And now you want 2 separate rooms? It basically, in my opinion, it sounds like you have said her family is intolerable. Right? We can't be around them for a few hours. We can't even bear it. They're too much. This too much. That's how that reads to me. And if that were me, I would be heartbroken. That would hurt my feelings so, so much. I love my family. I'm very close with them. Are they perfect? No. Yep. Is my husband aware of the imperfections? Yeah. You bet your bottom dollar. But I don't care for this. There is a very easy fix. It's called creating a lounge space, okay? But everyone needs to eat dinner in the same location because separating the dinner and the toasts and the dances, like OP is not thinking this through. Okay, we'll have 2 separate areas, okay? For basically 2 separate weddings. We'll have the ceremony together, hopefully, if it's allowed. And then cocktail hour, maybe in the same space because that tends to be a little bit more mellow. But when it comes to reception, are you going to dance twice for your first dance? Are you going to dance in the doorway in between both of the rooms? The practical application of this gets a little clunky when you start working through the timeline of the day. Which, by the way, if you need a timeline for your wedding, ours is the best. It's called perfectweddingtimeline.com. I named it. So it's apt. It's apropos. It's right here if you want to check it out. The flow of the day is going to get real weird. Where are you doing the speeches? Are we not doing speeches? Are you going to dance with your mom or a mother figure? Are you having any sort of perfunctory parental or family dances? Where are you doing those? You do yours on your side and hers on her side? This is so silly. This is so silly. I feel really bad for the bride in this situation. As far as the groom is concerned, I would assume that you haven't been to very many weddings. If the only weddings you've been to have been a part of your own family. So you haven't really experienced this, what you might perceive to be really rambunctious. Or maybe you've been to those weddings and you're like, I don't want that. Okay, so what if we compromise? Again, let's have the bride compromise again, okay? But you're gonna have to do that too. Everyone's in the same room. We're going to keep it mellow music throughout dinner. We'll do toasts, first dance, perfunctory dances, any of cake cutting. If you want to do bouquet toss or garter toss, I know the internet is very divided on that, okay? You don't have to do them, but some people still do it and they like it, okay? Get all of those done and out of the way. And then open up the dance floor and then have a secondary lounge space or a photo booth that your family can go escape to. They don't have to stay in that room. Most of the time, what we find for those that don't like dancing, they just sit at their table and they just people watch and they're okay. And we don't have to be blasting the music. We're not starting off the night necessarily with Lil Jon, okay? We can keep it Bublé or Bublé adjacent for the first hour to appease your family members, right? Bublé's is that, calm enough, vanilla enough for your side? And then we can turn things up a little later on in the evening. That way you can still get the experience of bringing everyone together because I agree with your soon-to-be wife. I hate that idea. And it does feel like she'd have to choose. I would hate this. All right, let's read the comments because you're the a-hole. She's right. Your family is going to have to mingle with hers. That is what a wedding is. They would prefer, quoting, great. When they get married, they can have a wedding according to their preferences. It's not their wedding, it's yours and your fiance's. Those are all reasonable compromises from her. You should pick one of those. I agree. I think you should implement all of those. And here's why you're the a-hole. This isn't a compromise. This is her deferring to you and your wishes. A compromise would have been either a religious service without kids or a secular service with kids. You are not looking to compromise, though. You are dictating conditions. Here's the deal. I don't like the term dictate here. I think that has too hard of a connotation. I think that OP is I want kids here and it's important for me to have religion included. I think that's an okay statement to make. And I'm not going to say that he's being a dictator or dictating because of those things. She obviously agreed to that compromise and is now standing her ground on the things that she doesn't want to compromise on. So I do see some back and forth here. Weddings and marriages are about compromise and communication. Your future wife has already made a lot of concessions for you. Now it's your turn. Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair statement to make. Also, it'd be super weird to do it your way. That's not how weddings work. This is so weird. Looking forward to the wife's post in a relationship advice in 2 years. His lack of self-awareness is striking. He doesn't seem to really care what she wants at all. The 2 rooms idea is just outright ludicrous, honestly. You're the a-hole, OP. Yeah, just even from like a planning perspective, an event perspective, this is so clunky and weird and... You're the a-hole. You aren't compromising at all, and you aren't even hearing your fiance very clearly tell you that she is aware you aren't compromising or even considering her as the person to plan this wedding with. I don't understand what you want out of the reception, to be honest. You don't want it to be loud, but you want children involved. Yeah, but kids at weddings aren't necessarily loud, and I will die on that hill. You don't want to start earlier. You don't want an extended cocktail time before the reception. It seems the only thing that would make you happy is 2 separate rooms. Your fiance rightfully points out that this would mean that there would be 2 events going on. And where would you spend your time? How would anyone have fun at all? How many DJs are you going to have? You're going to pay one DJ to monitor music in 2 separate rooms? So it can be like vanilla on one side and going off on the other? Like, that's not... A DJ's not going to do that. You'd have to have 2 separate ones, or your family's going to sit in silence and then just hear like a whoop, 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 whoop coming from the other room. So they're going to be exposed to the raucousness of it anyways. Oh, this one makes me really feel things. So your fiance has already made 2 big compromises, children and religious ceremony, and has given you a bunch of ideas that actually really would work. A day wedding with a longer cocktail hour, pictures before the ceremony give older people plenty of time to enjoy the family and the venue, and those that want to stay for a louder reception could then go and have a great time. But where are you compromising? Where are you putting your fiance first? All of this. OP, you haven't compromised a bit. You are putting your bio family's needs and wishes above your wife and her family, who, newsflash, are about to become your family too. Sorry for yelling. It's clear to me that you are not ready to get married when you're prioritizing your biological family over your spouse. That's not a fair statement to make. This is what I was talking about when the comment section gets cold. People can still be ready to get married and not understand how weddings work and still need to figure out how to compromise. Wedding planning is like a microcosm of just all of the stuff that you're going to hit in life. It brings all of it to the surface. All of a sudden, you're paying more money than the 2 of you have probably collectively spent in your entire life, right? At one event, you're trying to please 2 separate families, potentially even more if we have blended families going on. You're trying to figure out cultures and foods and how to run the day, and you have to figure out how to allocate your finances correctly. Again, this is why I created the master plan, because you should not be navigating this alone, and I would love to help you. Please sign up for it. Please, I'm begging you, let me help you. Don't do this alone. But we're already dealing with so many things that you probably have never dealt with before. So we're going to run into situations where compromise is difficult to achieve in at least, I don't know, I haven't scientifically studied this, but probably 50% of the couples going through this are going to have to figure out how to compromise on something, on one thing or another. So just because they can't figure that out immediately, or just because, they need to go to Reddit to get roasted and flayed alive, doesn't mean that this person is not ready for marriage. So that's when we kind of take our opinions and we go a little too far with them. Okay, bloop. I can envision your poor fiance's future. She's always going to take a backseat to your family, isn't she? No, she's standing up for herself. She's saying no. That's a silly request. We're not doing that. I already said yes to a couple things. I'm going to stick to my ground on this. That's why she's making her opinion and her statements known. She's not a doormat. At least based on OP's commentary, she's not just taking it. She's making a stand. She's going to be bleeding and emotional and just having... Whoa. She's going to be bleeding and emotional just having given birth, and you're going to insist that your entire family come over to the house to spend time with the baby and not raise a single finger to help because, God forbid, you hurt their feelings or make them uncomfortable for 1 minute. This is not... You took this too far. No, he will insist they stand at the foot of the birthing table to make sure that emerging offspring is really hers, after insisting on being present during conception, demanding a paternity test first. Now you're just being cruel. Guys, calm down. She will have to be a perfect host and cook the 3-course meal for them. You joke, but I would bet money that there is going to be an issue around mother-in-law's access to the birth and or baby. Guys, we don't need to take it this far. I get that you think that you're predicting the future when you're reading some of these posts, and I get that you might have some life experience that shows you that this could happen. But this is standing at the birthing table? Birth is such a sacred thing. That's not funny. We don't mess with that, okay? All right? I guess you could also say that a wedding day is a pretty sacred thing as well. But they're not inviting you to comment on the birth process. And I think what bugs me about this line of thinking and this line of commentary is the idea that that it's the mother-in-law and the family pushing for this. I see it's the groom pushing for this, saying, here's what I think my family's preferences are going to be, and I want to protect that, and I want to fight for that. Not, my mother was going off in my ear and I haven't cut off the apron strings, and this is what I'm doing because she told me to do it. None of that was mentioned. So we're making some pretty big leaps from the original spirit of the law of the post and making a lot of assumptions about his family and why he's making these decisions. So, we have recorded quite long enough. I think we're going to go ahead and leave it there, folks. Let me know your thoughts on this one. The first post. Are they the a-hole for not having the conversation? Was it prudent? I totally understand where she was coming from by not saying anything, even if she knew that maybe she should, and just being like, nope, they didn't clarify. I found a loophole. I'm just not going to address it, and we'll deal with it later. And if there's fallout, there's fallout, and we'll talk about it. I don't think it's going to cost their relationship. I just think it's icky and kind of uncomfortable all around. The second one, who doggy? You are definitely the a-hole, and you don't know how weddings work. I'm so sorry. I hate being so harsh on these things, but also the internet agrees with me. So that's all we have for this week's video, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you are planning your own wedding, let me help you. Honestly, we get rave reviews. Rave reviews for everyone who goes through the master plan because it's everything. You know, you're running around the internet searching for things on trying to figure out what's the accurate budget for this? How long should I spend planning this? You're obviously on this channel either because you like AITA reactions or because you're planning a wedding and you need help. This is going to be the best, most concise and yet detailed version of wedding planning you're going to find on the internet for a fraction of the cost of a wedding planner. I'm telling you, I've literally had wedding planners look at this be like, why are you not charging more for this? Because I'm doing this for brides who are balling on a budget, for those that cannot afford to hire me specifically, cannot afford to hire other wedding planners. Please come join me in the master plan. I would love to have you in there. Again, if you missed the download for the money talks guide, in case things are awkward, I'm gonna go ahead and leave that in the description box for you to check out, as well as a link to the master plan. And let me know, I already said this, let me know your thoughts. First one, second one, AITA. If you haven't done so already, jump on down there, hit this like button if you like the AITA videos, and subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride. And until next week, bye guys!